All right, so let's shift gears from soccer to the state budget, North Carolina state budget. So recently, last weekend was a story that we follow, and we actually had WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay in studio talking about the budget and some other things. But essentially, Governor Josh Stein was released his budget last week, was able to get it through, and it's calling for investments in education. Also urged state lawmakers to approve Helene relief money, and that's a big part of that budget, that Helene relief aspect of it. And a lot of nonprofits, profits and organizations, ones that we've highlighted here on WCNC Charlotte, are working hard to help people bounce back from Helene, and this funding will help. It will go a long way. Now, Julie Kay spoke with Yolanda Adams with make sure I get her title right. She is the leader of Appalachia there in Boone. And Yolanda Adams talked about what this would mean for our organization and helping people bounce back. Let's take a listen in.
If I can put it in one word, it's encouragement. I feel encouraged that we are not being forgotten, and that even though we hope that that aid was going to come sooner, it's better to have it sooner than later. So I am glad that a lot of those gaps are going to start hopefully to get to closing up. But we still have people who are displaced. We still have people who are living with someone in someone else's house, like renting an apartment. I have seen it directly with the community members that I serve. So it is encouraging to see that those funds will be now available. We also, with Appalachia and Immigrant Connection of the High Country, we receive a grant for $26,000 from the North Carolina Community Foundation grant. So that's going to be for relief efforts. So we're excited about the opportunity to continue serving and in closing those gaps. A lot of people don't think about the impact of the financial hit on the families also, because a lot of them lost their job for a long period of time. Then is the recovery of the infrastructure of their homes. So it's taking a toll on other items like food, and also like making payments on your basic needs. So we are hopeful to use that money to start closing those gaps as well.
And I was going to ask about Appalachia as well. I know you work with multiple different organizations, but how is that organization in particular doing? I know last time we talked about, getting the Spanish-speaking community better access to these resources, because a lot of them are already complicated and in English. So how has that been going, and how are they doing now?
Yeah, so definitely, I think with Appalachia, unfortunately and fortunately, like the silver linings, it has grown tremendously every time that we have tackled something that it had impacted the community. Like we started with COVID, right? And now we're dealing with Helene. So it's taken us to like the next level and the next step, as we know that we are a great resource for our community. So we are definitely using expanding. We are now creating the official website for Appalachia, so people can go in there and see the resources that we have available, and also grant opportunities, services that we provide, how we can help them for, like, if they're looking for jobs and different things. So that is on the works right now. We also continue accepting donations for relief efforts, but there's going to be also other opportunities that they can donate towards. So we're looking forward to taking Appalachia to the next step. So we're very excited.
And when did you say that website is going to launch? Do we know?
Hopefully in the next month. We're currently in the works. We don't want to launch it before it's perfectly fine and aligned. We're also going to be able to have it in multiple languages, because we want to make sure that everybody has access to it and the resources are within.
That's great news. I love that idea. And then I think, just putting it into perspective, again, we've talked about all the different groups that need help and all the different things going on. For people who aren't there, to put into perspective, this funding is great, but this is just the beginning still, correct?
Yes, absolutely. When we think about $26,000, we think, oh, that's a lot of money. But when you're helping 3 or 4 families that were completely displaced and they lost everything, I mean, those $26,000 can go like super fast. And even the state grants and everything. There was a lot of damage. There's a lot of damage, and that's very costly. So, if the community members everywhere in North Carolina or even outside of Carolina can continue helping those efforts, you're definitely helping each individual to be able to recover from something that it wasn't just not only on the structural level, but the emotional level of it.
You watch the Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Serderman. That was Julie K's interview with Yolanda Adams with K-PASA Appalachia, is a nonprofit there in Boone, working to help the community as they recover from Helene. I just want to correct myself. I said the budget passed. It did not pass. It was just unveiled last week. And right now, for Governor Stein, it's what Governor Stein wants in the state budget versus what GOP leaders are likely to do with the state budget. So that budget is out there, is open to see, to go through. The big key points: education, tax breaks, and Helene relief. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the state budget. We want to add a little bit more context to the state budget. Julie K put a little bit more context in, wrapped up sort of the things that we need to know when it comes to this budget. So let's take a listen in.
A big week for the state capitol and Western North Carolina as the General Assembly passed $524 million in Helene relief. It covers housing reconstruction, debris removal, and crop loss.
It is now law.
But the work doesn't stop there. State Budget Director Kristen Walker presenting Governor Josh Stein's proposed 2-year budget to the Republican-led committee. Its largest focuses are education and building up the middle class, but it does not include Helene relief. She says it was made with that in mind.
We didn't want to conflate it with the biennial budget. We wanted to treat those separately, give Helene the attention it deserves.
She also says you can expect another request soon, but that absence, the first question lawmakers asked in committee.
Numbers saying that, $60 billion is what we at least need to do with partnership with the federal government.
Walker emphasized that the roughly $34 billion state budget couldn't cover it without help.
So I don't think when we put that number out there, we intend that number would ever be made up in whole, but it points to how significant and how severe the damage to that storm was.
Both sides of the aisle seem to agree that help has to come from the federal government, but the communication has been limited. And Walker says they're having to rely on their own estimations.
When we look at the federal bill that was passed in December, we feel as though North Carolina might be entitled to up to $15 billion from that federal bill. But we have not had communication from those agencies on how much of that we're going to get.
She says they have award letters for a little more than $3 billion. The money already in hand is even less than that. But direct funding from the federal government or a state bill like the one just passed might be the quickest help.
Fast, flexible funding.
In a disaster where timing is everything.
6 months after the storm, we're sort of losing the battle on fast.
Julie K, WCNC Charlotte.
And that was WCNC Charlotte's Julie K as she put more context on this budget in North Carolina. She's there reporting, and she's keeping an eye on this budget. We're all keeping an eye on this budget as things progress.